What's going on, YouTube fam? Just realized that I wanted to make a part two to this because uh, my phone only allowing me to do anywhere from 24 to 25 minutes. So I'll see if I can make this a little faster. That way I'm not making it too long of a video. But like I said in the first one, strap yourselves in. It's gonna be a long one. Okay, where was I at? I'll just read it again. A system for driving microtransactions in multiplayer. No, I was past that. I think. Let's see, where was I at? Okay, I'll just read the paragraph. The next one. Identifying in-game item is of potential interest to the first player, but not yet possessed by the first player for gameplay in a multiplayer game, wherein the in-game item is determined to be of potential interest to the first player on the at least one of a preference of the first player in the profile, associated with the first player in the multiplayer game, and in a utility of the in-game to a particular level of the multiplayer game. Okay, the paragraph states above a host computer wherein the host computer is in data communication with a plurality of computing devices, that each of the plurality of computing devices is configured to interact with an instance of the multiplayer game, and wherein the host computer has one or more physical processors programmed with computer program instructions that, when executed by the one or more physical processors, will cause the host computer to, and like it's stated, identify an in-game item that is of potential interest to a first player, but not yet possessed by the first player for gameplay in a multiplayer game. Basically means that they haven't purchased it yet. Wherein the in-game item is determined to be of potential interest to the first player based on at least one of a preference of the first player in the profile associated with the first player in the multiplayer game, and a utility of the in-game item to a particular level of the multiplayer game. Okay, now we're going to identify the second player that possesses the in-game item. Match the first player and the second player to play the in-game in a gameplay session, wherein matching is based on the potential player one, the potential interest of the in-game item to the first player, and then the possession of the in-game item, the possession of the in-game item by the second player, and update the profile associated with the first player in the multiplayer game to reflect a purchase or non-purchase of the in-game item. Okay, the system claim 9, wherein host computer is further programmed to determine the first player has purchased the in-game item in relation to the gameplay session. Determine a subsequent gameplay session that caters to the use of in-game items, and match the first player to play the subsequent gameplay session based upon said determination of the subsequent gameplay session that caters to the use of the in-game item. The system of claim 9, wherein identify the in-game item that is of potential interest to the first player. The host computer is programmed to obtain the profile associated with the first player, wherein profile compromises the preference that is used to determine the first player would be interest in the in-game item. Seems like this whole This whole thing seems to be repeating itself. And it's making me repeat myself. The system of Claim 11, wherein the preference compromises an express preference provided by the first player or a derived preference that is determined based on the gameplay history of the first player. Sound like gameplay tracking. The system of Claim 11, wherein the preferences relates to a player role that the first player prefers to play, and wherein the in-game item relates to the player role. The system of Claim 13, wherein the host computer is further programmed to determine that the second player has achieved a skill level association with the player role, wherein the second player is identified based further on skill level. The system of Claim 9, wherein the in-game item is identified based further on a promotion to sell the in-game item. The system of Claim 9, wherein the first player is associated with first skill level, and second player is associated with a second skill level that indicates a higher degree of skill level, a higher degree of skill that the first skill level, wherein the second player is identified based further on a difference between the first skill level and second skill level. Okay, 17 says a non-transitory computer readable medium having computer program instructions stored thereon for driving microtransactions in a multiplayer game. The computer program instructions, when executed by one or more physical processors of a host computer, causes the computer to identify an in-game item that is potential interest to first player but not yet possessed by the first player for gameplay in a multiplayer game, wherein the in-game item is determined to be of potential interest to the first player based on at least one of a preference of the first player in a profile associated with first player in the multiplayer game, and a utility of the in-game item to a particular level of the multiplayer game. Identify a second player that possesses the in-game item. And it basically just says, matching the first player with the second player and vice versa. Who's been making purchases and who hasn't. Who's getting the easier lobbies and who doesn't. It's basically all that it boils down to. If y'all would like to read further into this one, can go to the link. But I want to read this, the background of the invention. Multiplayer video games have exploded in popularity due in part to services such as Microsoft's Xbox Live, Sony PlayStation Network, which enable gamers all over the world to play with or against one another. Generally, a multiplayer video game is a video game in which two or more players play in a game session in a cooperative or adversarial relationship. At least one of the players may compromise a human player, while one or more. Yes, baby.
Are you making a video?
Mm-hmm.
Have they been out?
I took them out. You okay?
Yeah.
I think it was around 12 or 12:30 when I took them out. When did you take them out?
5 o'clock this morning.
Oh, shit. Okay. Okay, continue on. Where was I at? At least one of the players may compromise a human player, while one or more players may compromise either non-player characters and or other human players. So therefore, they're either inputting bots or NPCs as players in a multiplayer session. This is how I'm getting it. Is that this might be a virtual coach system, as of helping the low skill players out and getting kills and winning gunfights. And this may sound a little cheesy, but what it sounds to me is that a bot would spawn in a multiplayer session to pretty much deal with some of the higher skill players as much as it was the algorithm that SBMM is. And as soon as the bot is done doing their job, they disappear. Sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's 2022. They can throw where the hell they want in their games nowadays. Okay, typically, when a player logs into a game system or platform to play a multiplayer video game, the player may engage in a gameplay session in which he or she is matched with other players to play together on the same team or as opponents. As given player may engage multiple gameplay sessions during a login session. In addition, which each gameplay session may be played with either the same or different group of matched players. Same, no. Different, maybe. It's all unbalanced. Conventionally, when interested in playing in a group with other players, an individual player may ask friends to form a player group, may ask other players who are the same skill level to form a player group, and or may otherwise form a group by sending invitations to other players. Okay, that's just basically inviting players into your gameplay session to be on your team. Some systems may automatically group or match players based solely on a limited number of hard-coded characteristics, such as skill level, which are not dynamically adjusted. Such systems may create a hard set of segregated pools of players. Segregated pools of players. For example, in some conventional systems, a player who is in a certain skill level may. My dogs are on the bed. Go. Go. Did that work? Sorry, fam. For the interruption, my wife has gotten home, and we had some things to talk about, which I won't get into. But if you want to look at the rest of this, I'm not even sure where I left off at. It doesn't matter. If you guys want to look at this, the system and method of deriving microtransactions in multiplayer video games, and just type that in your search engine, and you should be able. That should be able to put you right to this website. let you read over it. Um, Look at those diagrams, those layouts, and blueprints, or whatever you want to call them, of SBMM. We'll go to the next one. The Activision Due software patent could give you in-game bonuses if you take part in microtransactions. Gosh, these ads. Get rid of these ads and I'll read them off to you. Okay. My gosh, this website. Okay, what it says, in effort to incentivize players to purchase in-game items, Activision has been granted a patent for a system that could artificially impact matchmaking variables in order to increase sales. Yes, guys, they did this to price gouge the game, get y'all's money, yada yada yada. You guys know the drill. A patent gives an individual or party the sole ownership rights to an invention. Activision's patent, which has the working title of System and Method for Driving Microtransactions in Multiplayer Video Games, which we just went over. Some of it, not all of it, allows them to tamper with the matchmaking process in its games if a player has recently purchased an in-game item. It says right there, folks, black and white. Disgusting. According to the patent, if players are able to do really well in the matches they play shortly after buying a skin or say a specific gun, it will give the player an impression that the particular weapon was a good purchase. This will in effect encourage the player to make future purchases to achieve similar gameplay results, according to the patent's authors. Basically, what I think that is saying is that like I said earlier, that you purchase one bundle and they determine for how long they give you easier lobbies, lowered or tuned down SBMM, that once they raise the SBMM on you again, it will encourage the player to make another purchase to buy another bundle. Let's go on. Get rid of this ad so I can read. After the patent was awarded to Activision on October 17th, Rolling Stone's gaming vertical Glixel published a report. These damn ads. Rolling Stone's gaming vertical Glixel posted a report about it. In response, Activision wrote to Glixel that this was an exploratory patent filed in 2015 by an R&D team working independently from our game studios. It has not been implemented in game. This has been further corroborated by Sledgehammer Games developing officer Michael Condrey, who wrote that he was not aware of the patent and it hasn't been implemented in Activision's Call of Duty World War II. currently in development by Sledgehammer. Additionally, Activision's Destiny 2 also doesn't have the system implemented. Okay, sorry for the pause again, fam. We'll get back in this video. What I got here is a unique Activision patent may explain sweaty SBMM lobbies in Call of Duty. Public patent images filed by Activision in 2019 are raising concerns among Call of Duty players. You think? There is a reason to believe that Activision's unique matchmaking system might be a cause for a lot of players face daily. Wow. Well, I hope a lot of people sees this. The patents are public and anybody can view them. Just like that website I showed you, Activision files patent to negatively, and that's probably all you gotta type in, and it should take you straight to the website here. I'll just go ahead and pull it up. Activision files patent to negatively impact gameplay, specifically on adding negative aim assist and lowering damage of skilled players in multiplayer titles. And right here, so you can view the patent in full here. And it'll show you the whole patent. Okay. A simple YouTube search will reveal several videos where Call of Duty community is actively busy in exposing the American studio. Yeah, such as me, Why So Serious, Dallas, Based at Jeep, Ballistic. Shoutouts to all you guys. Shoutouts to all the people I follow. Shoutouts to all the people that follow me. However, there is some truth to these claims. While the patents are mostly conjured up in very specific and technical language, a minute of reading and reveal a lot of concerning details, it seems like Activision aims to coach players actively in every match. Yeah, sounds about right. What this means, if a player is having problems facing snipers, he will only face more of them. This is Activision's way of coaching a player to get better in the game, for the same reason players complain that matches feel extremely sweaty. This is not always because the players are playing bad per se, but because they are forced to face their weaknesses. I don't know about all that. There is no way every player in the community before playing a match sits down to rectify their mistakes.